Welcome into the Tuesday edition of Morning Jocks here on JOX 94.5. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you, getting you set for another great day here in the Birmingham metropolitan area. Big night for the Atlanta Braves, big night for the Dallas Mavericks. Finally, they needed some good news. I want to have a very interesting conversation, though, here in a couple of minutes. I will just say this. I know we joke about it a lot, and it was a popular thing a couple years ago with the NFL and there being a script that's handed out every season and, kind of that whole controversy. I think it was it Arian Thomas that came, or Arian Foster, sorry. Yeah. Arian Foster that came out and essentially, the NFL's rigged. We got, like, he was leaning into it as a former player, of course. I will say last night is the strongest argument I think I've ever seen for a sports league being rigged. So we're going to talk about that. You cannot convince me right now the NBA was not rigged last night. 100%. And even somebody that is there in the Dallas area agreed with me last night. So we'll dive into that here in a little bit. I'm sure some of you have some thoughts on that as well. But you did have some NBA postseason action last night as well. And of course, as is now tradition here on the show, we have our Mount Rushmore of SEC college football programs. And today is the best one yet, Damian. The best one yet. The Kentucky Wildcats.
Oh.
This is the one we've all been waiting for, right?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, this is what we've been waiting on.
Equal representation. We represent all 16 schools get the same treatment.
That is true.
Regardless of how easy or difficult some may be to. Actually, this one wasn't very difficult to put together. It's just, maybe there's not as big of a pool of candidates as there are for some of the other programs.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. Can't wait to hear from y'all. 205-834-9450. I don't even have to look yet. I know Lewis sent his one in. Yeah, he did, because he's a boss.
Exactly.
He's a boss every morning here. But yeah, so coming up a little later, we'll dive into those. Me and Damon will share our Kentucky Mount Rushmores for college football. If this was basketball, it'd be a little bit of a different conversation. But it is football, and we are not including coaches. So I know some people, we were talking yesterday, and someone said, you got to have Bear Bryant on your list. Well,
we're strictly players.
Love Bear. Appreciate everything he did, obviously. Not only at Kentucky, but Alabama and A&M and everywhere that he was. But, we're sticking with players. And I'll go ahead and say Will Levis did not make my Mount Rushmore, Damian. So I apologize for
that. When you look at some of the records in Kentucky football history, you thought the cupboard was bare. Like you kind of look and see, and when he's in the top 5 of passing leaders, in Kentucky all time, it's, oh boy. He might be a Kentucky football Hall of Famer. Congratulations, but.
Yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. So that's coming up, our Kentucky Mount Rushmores. And I'll go ahead and tell you for tomorrow, I haven't told Damian this yet, but I know he's going to have no problem with this one because it's his favorite school. I figured we could do Texas A&M tomorrow.
That was okay. Okay.
So tomorrow we'll do Texas A&M, and today we'll do Kentucky. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But we will start. We will go now to the world of Major League Baseball, where last night you had the Atlanta Braves. You could hear it here on JOX 94.5. They were taking on a division rival there in the Washington Nationals. So Atlanta back home last night, and as things got started off, you had Marcell Ozuna with an RBI single there in the third, getting things started off for Atlanta. They got out to a 2-0 lead there in the third inning. Ozuna would add a solo shot there in the fifth inning to give the Braves a 3-1 lead in the fifth inning. But then in the ninth inning, you would have nightmare scenario come across for the Braves, as you had Allen, the shortstop. He double clutches a throw. It would have been the final out of the game. Double clutches it, throws it wide of the first baseman. It goes there to the backstop. You had a couple guys score for Washington on the error, so they tied it up at 3 in the top of the ninth inning on an error by the shortstop for the Braves. And you're sitting there going, man, we just had a rough road trip to Pittsburgh. Now we're coming back home, where Atlanta's been significantly better this year at home, and they just can't catch a break until the bottom of the ninth inning, when Alex Verdugo would stand up to the plate and he would deliver a walk-off single there in the bottom of the ninth for the Atlanta Braves. So Alex Verdugo continuing to earn his spot there after getting called up for the minor leagues earlier in the season. But it was another great pitching performance for the Braves. That's certainly not been an issue for them here over the last couple of days. They had great pitching all over the weekend, just the bats didn't come alive. Again, last night, you finally scored 4 runs. You didn't do that the whole weekend. But now you were able to put 4 runs up on Washington last night. But Grant Holmes, he goes 6 1/3, gives up 1 run, 4 hits, strikes out 4, walks another to lower his ERA to 4.14 on the season. So really strong showing from Holmes. Ozuna does it with the bat, Verdugo with the walk-off, and Atlanta finds himself again at 20-21. 1 game away from 500. Here's a good stat for you, Damian. The Braves this year are 0-5 when they have a chance to get to 500. So they've had a handful of opportunities, and they can't get to 500. So maybe tonight is the night.
It should be. And again, it's against an NL East opponent, too. There's a lot of things that could brew in this series. And, the Braves, you just need to get one win, because after what your performance was over the weekend and with Pittsburgh, you'll take them any way you can get them at this point.
Yeah, so you need to pick up some wins here against Washington. The good news is you created some separation in the East. Atlanta in 3rd place still, as they've been for a little while now, but they're 3.5 games up on Washington now, who's in 4th place, 4 games behind the Philadelphia Phillies. And you did get some help last night from Pat Smith's Cardinals as they took down the Phillies 3-2 last night. The Mets did pick up another win over the Pirates 4-3. However, so Atlanta going tonight, again, 6:15 first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame show. You're going to hear that here on JOX right after the Paul Feinbaum show. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow we're talking about an Atlanta Braves team that has finally climbed up to 500. Quickly, as we like to do from time to time, just giving you an update on the Major League Baseball standings. Quickly in the American League, Yankees on top of the AL East at 24-17. They have a 3-game lead over the Red Sox. Detroit still leading things in the Central there at 27-15. They're 2.5 games over the Guardians and the Royals. In the West, you have the Mariners there. They have a 1.5 lead over the Athletics at 22-18. And then in the National League East, the Mets on top of the East there at 27-15, 2.5 games over the Phillies. Chicago holding on to a 1-game lead over the Cardinals in the Central Division. And then you have the Dodgers at 27-14. They're in first place there in the West, a 1.5 over the Padres. So that's where things stand for you right now. And if you find yourself wondering, well, where would the Braves find themselves in the wild card conversation? They are currently 3.5 games back of a wild card spot. So that maybe is what you're looking for right now, unless the Mets just have an epic collapse. But hey, it's a long season. 3.5 games is child's play. So
exactly.
It's
early on.
Got plenty of time.
The road to Choptober starts now.
That's right.
That's what the Braves say, right?
Hey, if you're not 20-21 right now, you can't make the postseason. That's what I always say.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So Braves back in action tonight, 6:15 here on JOX. We'll see if they can get to 500. All right, now the conversation that I really wanted to have, and we'll start it here. We'll probably have to carry it on to the other side here in a minute, but you had the NBA draft lottery last night. So anybody that's unfamiliar with this is how they do their draft selection, right? For the top half of the league. They put a bunch of ping pong balls in there, they pull them out, and that is the order of the draft. And every now and then you have kind of an upset. Typically, it's not always going to be the team with the best odds, but it's going to be one of the teams with the 2 or 3 best odds, right, Damian? That's typically going to get the number 1 overall pick. Not last night. No. You had an upset in the NBA draft lottery as the Dallas Mavericks ended up with the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming draft. So essentially they rewarded Cooper Flagg last night. Can't mess this one up, Nico Harrison. Surely you cannot mess up this pick.
And then going into it, they only had a 1.8 percentage of getting the number 1 spot.
I am glad that you asked that, Damian. Yes, they had a 1.8% chance to win the number 1 overall pick in the draft. That is the 4th lowest odds to ever win the lottery. It's the lowest since 2014 when the Cavs did it with a 1.7% chance. And actually, if you're curious, the lowest odds ever, the Magic had a 1.5% chance in 1993. I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole last night. They drafted Chris Webber, if you remember that year, who they immediately traded for Penny Hardaway.
Interesting.
So that's just a little bit of a nugget there. But yeah, the Mavericks, the fourth lowest odds to ever win the NBA draft lottery. So they win last night. Spurs will have the second pick, 76ers the third, and the Hornets will have the fourth pick. But everybody seems to agree that this has to be rigged, right? Because you just traded Luka. So the belief now is that essentially what happened is the NBA went to Dallas and said, hey, this LeBron guy's not getting any younger. What's going to happen when he's out of LA? We don't have anybody there. So they asked Nico and the Dallas Mavericks, hey, why don't you trade Luka to the Mavericks and we'll do you a little favor in a couple months. We'll give you the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Because they were worried about his conditioning, right? They weren't sure that he was going to be at the cornerstone of a franchise. So, hey, we'll give you that in Cooper Flagg. You just have to trade Luka to the Lakers. And while, I can sit here and tell you, do I think the NBA or any sports league is actually rigged? I like to think no. But this is a little fishy, right? I mean, to go just, and again, it's not like this has never happened before, but this is I guess, the luckiest NBA draft lottery we've had in over a decade, and it just so happens to go to the team that just traded their best player and resides in one of the largest media markets in the entire country and has a fan base that was ready to disown not only the Mavericks, but the entire National Basketball Association. And you don't think that Adam Silver decided, hey, we might want those eyeballs on our product, so how about we go and give them Cooper Flagg? Also, the Mavericks were giving refunds on season tickets after the Luka trade. They are now have a wait list for season tickets for next year because they have Cooper Flagg in the number 1 pick coming in.
Brian, this is the perfect Brian Windhorst moment of, wait a minute. So, and think of just the Dallas Mavericks in the past, let's just say 20 years. You've had Dirk Nowitzki for a while, brought you a championship. You had Luka Magic, who took you there. He took you there. And you gave Dirk the flowers. You let him finish his entire career in Dallas. You sent Luka away. In comes, again,
they have a type, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Very fundamentally sound basketball players. They're like, not even that. They're superstars. They're bona fide superstars. If you're drafted early by the Dallas Mavericks, well, technically he was Trae Young and Luka was part of that trade, but they usually have a success with the type of player. And it just seems as though the chips are, the odds are in their favor. And I think for Dallas, and I'm with you, I don't subscribe to, leagues are rigged and, the script writers do all these things. But it does seem rather odd how, Kyrie Irving will be coming back from injury. You got an aging Anthony Davis. You've got Klay Thompson. And then you insert a young up-and-comer in Cooper Flagg in that lineup, and it goes from, this team was, just skating by the skin of their teeth there on the end, to, if it all works out, and you look across and, Luka and LeBron, how many more years does LeBron really have in him, and who does Luka have around there besides LeBron to really elevate the game? Maybe Dallas was playing the long game when it came to that trade. The NBA gave us a little nugget of information of what could potentially happen within the next few months. And if you're Nico Harrison, you'll take any of the heat that you received after you made the trade, knowing this was probably going to happen in the end, even though you really didn't know. But the fact that it happened, you could kind of look like the smartest guy in the room here in the next couple of months to, a couple of years.
Well, I was about to say, he completely lucked out on this situation, right? Because you can't mess up this pick. They could send it in right now. We all know it's going to be Cooper Flagg going to the Mavericks, right? And so if he works out, he's going to save his job because he got gift wrapped the easiest draft pick in the last decade of the NBA, probably. So, yeah, I know all the conspiracy theories out there. I really want to buy into the whole NBA is rigged thing because, it just sets up so perfectly. But who knows? I guess maybe the basketball gods just decided to smile down on the city of Dallas. But it was funny because I did talk to our old friend Matt McLaren last night, and his first response was, yeah, you can't tell me this wasn't rigged for the Mavericks. And seriously, I'm just saying, Dallas is a very, very important media market.
Mm-hmm.
It just lines up. Sometimes, things, the dots connect just a little too well. So, but yeah, I want to hear from you. 205-834-9450. Is anybody else convinced that the NBA is rigged? Because that seemed to be the popular belief on social media last night after the Mavericks won the NBA draft lottery. So, congratulations to them. Certainly not something that they expect. Well, maybe they did expect it because they got tipped off to it, but something we didn't expect to have happen last night in the world of basketball. But yeah, so if you think the NBA is rigged, let us know. 205-834-9450. Continue to send in your Kentucky Mount Rushmores. Already have a number of those rolling in. We're going to get to those a little bit later. But when we come back here quickly, we do have a little bit of NFL scheduling news and how it might affect the college football world. And we also have some NBA playoff action last night to quickly get to. A big win for New York, maybe their biggest win in decades there for the Knicks. So we'll cover all that, tell you what's going on, get to our Kentucky Mount Rushmores here on the other side. Morning Jocks and JOX 94.5. 6:19. Welcome back in Tuesday edition of Morning Jocks for you here on JOX 94.5. Spend some time recapping what you missed last night. If you're just now joining us, Braves walk off the Nationals 4-3 there in the bottom of the ninth on an Alex Verdugo single. Dallas Mavericks win the NBA draft lottery and will select Cooper Flagg with the number 1 overall pick. And the NBA is rigged in everybody's mind because there's no way that a team with a 1.8% chance of winning the lottery would have won unless they just traded away their franchise player, and they operate in a major media market, which the Dallas Mavericks do. So if you want to buy into that conspiracy theory, we will certainly hear you out at 205-834-9450. So I did tell you yesterday, or yesterday, before the break, that we did get some NFL scheduling news yesterday and how it affects the world of college football. So we told you yesterday morning it broke that the season opener is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles and Dallas Cowboys there on Thursday night to open up the season. But we got a couple of other games as I guess the different networks are releasing their schedules at different times. And so they're all kind of rolling out at weird times. So we're getting some of the marquee matchups yesterday. And you have a doubleheader. This is actually a very good slate on Saturday, December the 20th, as you're going to have an NFC North and NFC East battle, as you'll have the Packers and the Bears on Fox. And then you'll also have the Eagles and Commanders on Fox on that same day and a doubleheader there. Now, the reason's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Why would you be bringing that up? Because that day, December the 20th, is the same day as the first round of the college football playoff. So if we remember going back to last year or last season and some of the complaints that we had with, well, why are we playing these games on the same day as the NFL postseason? Because from a viewership standpoint, the NFL is always going to win, right? That's just the way that it's going to work from the Nationals, point of view, not here in Birmingham per se, but across the entire country. And so we are now going to have yet another one of those situations this year, Damian, with a doubleheader of the NFL going up against the first round of the playoff, which I assume will also be a doubleheader that day in the world of college football. So I don't think this is going anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, the NFL knows what they're doing. You know, a good team in the Green Bay Packers taking on, Caleb Williams, who's kind of one of the up and risers in the National Football League. And they know what they're doing with the Eagles and Commanders as well. A team that went to the NFC it's the NFC Championship rematch with, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, and then the Super Bowl champions in the Philadelphia Eagles. The shield is always going to sell itself. Like, it doesn't matter. You could have put, not, poop on my own team. You could have put the Titans out there, and it would still do numbers. Now, it would probably be a little bit closer to the college football numbers. But, yeah, you knew once we expanded the playoffs, we're going to run into these things as far as scheduling goes, because the college football season becomes that much longer. But yeah, you're going to be competing with the NFL, but I ain't complaining at all, because that's the benefit of having, multiple screens. You can have your NFL playing, you could have the college football on one side, NFL on the other, and it locks you in for as much football as you can possibly take, both on college level and the professional level.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it, and I understand some people get, it affects the viewership and it makes college football not look as good. I look at it as, like you're saying, I don't have a problem watching multiple things in the same day. While we don't like, I guess, for other sports to tread on the toes of college football, and that's a very important day for us here at JOX, and I know many of you listening with the college football playoff, but yeah, the more football, the merrier, right? Do I wish they could separate it a little bit? Absolutely. But I'm not going to complain about having what should be 4 excellent football games on the same day.
I'm not mad at all.
I was about to say, if that's what we're complaining about, I'm probably doing all right.
Exactly. And for, wagering purposes, you got a couple games you can play on that day. Fantasy football, you'll be able to check your numbers on a Saturday as opposed to, waiting on after the noon games on Sunday. Like every pallet will be full.
I would certainly agree with that. So that's the latest from the college football world and how that might be affected a little bit by the NFL schedule coming up later this year, but we knew that was coming. It's just officially official now. So we will cross that bridge when we get to it. But quickly, just keeping you up to date on what's going on in the NBA postseason. I promise we'll get through this quickly. But you do have, just to keep you updated on the other series that weren't in action last night, they will be in action tonight. You have the Pacers. They're going for the win or the series win over the Cavs. They're up 3-1 over Cleveland right now. And you have OKC and Denver tied up at 2. So someone looking to take the advantage there in that series tonight. But last night, you did have the Knicks and Celtics and Timberwolves and Warriors. So the late game, Timberwolves, they win 117-110. They're up 3-1 on the Warriors. Steph Curry hasn't been able to play for the last few games. And it's just been a completely different Warriors team. Anthony Edwards goes for 30 last night. He had 6 3-pointers. He was excellent for them last night. And Steph may be coming back for game 5, but seems a little too late at this point for the Golden State Warriors. And then you had the New York Knicks, who took down the Celtics 121-113. And as I said before the break, this is arguably the biggest win the Knicks have had in 2-3 decades. You're now in a position to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, where you would probably match up with against a Pacers team that, I think if you're the Knicks, you feel like you have the goodest chance of anybody to play in the NBA Finals. And that would be a huge accomplishment for the Knicks, obviously. But taking down the Celtics and just the way that they've kind of manhandled them this series. Jason Tatum, he goes for 42 points last night, but he had a really, really nasty ankle injury at the end last night. Don't think he's going to be playing again in this series, and he may be missing some significant time next year based on how that looked. It looked really nasty, and the hope is that it's not an Achilles. I did see some, I'll just say, Kobe jokes about,
Right.
You really want to be like him?
Right. And, it's, while the internet can be a cruel place, kind of funny at times, but, you hate seeing this part of the game. Like any injury in
absolutely.
any situation, you hate seeing it. And it was a non-contact injury, so it's one of those, you
just kind of cross your fingers and
right.
And hope it's not the worst case scenario, which would be the Achilles, but
yeah. But, the whole mantra on Jason Tatum, they say, Kobe was his favorite player. He does a lot of his mannerisms, and nothing that Jason Tatum does is original. Just wasn't the best place on social media if your name was Jason Tatum yesterday.
No, it was not, unfortunately for him. But yeah, brutal injury. And he is one of the very best in the NBA. So that's a brutal hit for the Celtics, and hopefully not going to impact him next year. But it's
shout out to the Knicks, though.
It didn't look good. Yeah, shout out to the Knicks. Jalen Brunson goes for 39, 12 assists last night. He's been a beast. And so they will look to close out that series tomorrow night and head on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
And celebrities there in New York. I would like to see what the New York Knicks do if they were to make it to the finals. Like, their fan base is absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I must have missed somewhere along the way for everyone looking for their celebrity gossip today. I didn't know that Stephon Diggs and Cardi B were dating.
I had heard rumors. I had heard rumors that Offset had some beef with an NFL player. Nothing prepared me for it to be Stephon Diggs. But then I started thinking, if there was a persona that, I don't know how to describe it except that he moves just like a receiver. Like he when I think of just the stereotypes that receivers get, and I'm saying this as a former receiver, it's Stephon Diggs. Like, he's a very, I'm not going to say polarizing athlete, but he finds himself in a lot of situations. It's, man, I thought you were better than, I just thought he was better than this. I thought he moved better than this. I looked at him as a very,
he's a little messy.
Yeah, and he kind of gets a pass because his play on the field does kind of back up. He talks a lot of noise. He backs it up. But his off the field moves, I'm just, Cardi B, dog. I thought you would. Again, I don't know Cardi B. I don't know her personally, but I just know, just how she moves. And it's like, man.
Something tells me that when he got traded to Houston, he was probably pretty happy about that.
Yeah, wasn't complaining. Got him out.
I think from the social aspect of it, he was probably like, yeah, maybe this isn't.
Because when he was in Minnesota, I didn't hear anything. It's just, Stephon Diggs is a hard work. He goes out there and does his thing.
Don't hear a lot in Buffalo.
No.
Changes when you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little different there, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah, no, they certainly had a good crowd last night.
Yeah, do your thing, big dog.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, well, that gets you up to date on everything going on in the sports world. So now it is time for the Kentucky Mount Rushmore. A bunch of you sending yours in. Continue to do so. 205-834-9450. We're going to take a quick break on the other side. I'll give my Mount Rushmore. Damien will give his for Kentucky, and then we will get straight to all of your wonderful lists that you've submitted this morning. Again, 205-834-9450. Send your Kentucky Mount Rushmores in, and we will break those down on the other side here of Morning Jocks and JOX 94.5. Well, the time has arrived. Kentucky Mount Rushmore. What is this, Damien? The 6th? I believe this is the 6th Mount Rushmore that we've done so far.
Yes, 6.
Auburn, Alabama, Florida, LSU. Ole Miss yesterday, Kentucky today. Tomorrow, Damien's favorite program, the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies, where Kellen Mond will stand tall amongst the rest of his peers, I imagine. Right?
Sure.
It's funny because you know you're going to have to consider him when you go through it.
I don't have to. Like you said, this is our Mount Rushmore. This is strictly us.
Okay.
But I have a feeling he will make an appearance in somebody's.
Oh, he definitely will in somebody's.
Oh
I hope it's yours, but something tells me that somebody out there will have Kellen Mond on their Mount Rushmore. But we'll do Texas A&M tomorrow. We're going to do Kentucky today. Appreciate you joining us here on Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damian here with you until 7 o'clock. So let's go ahead. Let's dive into it right now. I will give you my Mount Rushmore. Damian will give you his, and then we will get to your reaction on the Courtesy GMC text line at 205-834-9450. All right. So as I said at the beginning, this really wasn't that difficult. I think we're going to see a lot of overlap in some people's lists. And again, as a refresher, if this is your first time joining us for Mount Rushmore, me and Damian typically are not placing people on our Mount Rushmore that we have not seen play, coach, do something with our own two eyeballs on a football field. So with that being said, for my Kentucky Mount Rushmore, I have to go with a pair of quarterbacks at the top. You got to go with Tim Couch. And what he did for Kentucky. He, in my opinion, the best quarterback in Kentucky history. Doesn't have all the records because he was only there for a couple of years. But what Tim Couch did at Kentucky, going on to be the number 1 overall pick, didn't work out maybe the best for him in Cleveland in the NFL. But just a fantastic career that he had. And he had set, until Joe Burrow came along, he had the passing record for most passing yards in a single season by an SEC quarterback. So I got to go Tim Couch on my Kentucky Mount Rushmore. I would also have to go with the hefty lefty, Jared Lorenzen. Got to throw him on there. He actually is the all-time passing leader in Kentucky history. And, you know, okay, obviously, is he the best quarterback of all time? No, I think Tim Couch would take that over Lorenzen. But what he did for the game of football and how much fun he was to watch, and just, I mean, just having a big dude out there playing the quarterback position the way that he did and being as athletic as he still was remarkable to watch. And he had a great career there at Kentucky and still holds a lot of records there for the Wildcats. So I would go Tim Couch, Jared Lorenzen. I would then go Randall Cobb, kind of the do-it-all guy, played just about every position on the offensive side of the ball for Kentucky, and obviously went on to have a very, very successful NFL career as well. But Randall Cobb, when I think of Kentucky football, outside of Tim Couch, the first person I think of is Randall Cobb. So he would be on my Mount Rushmore as well. And then for a more recent addition and somebody on the defensive side of the ball, you have to go with Josh Allen, or I guess Josh Hines Allen now, sorry. But he was an All-American SEC Defensive Player of the Year a handful of years ago, had 17 sacks his final year at Kentucky, just an absolute monster. Arguably, if not the greatest defensive player to ever play for Kentucky, at least in the modern era. So that would be my Mount Rushmore. Again, Tim Couch, Jared Lorenzen, Randall Cobb, and Josh Hines Allen there at the top for me. All right, how about you, Damian? For Big Blue, where are you going?
It's very similar, but I have a trio of quarterbacks. I have Jared Lorenzen, a hefty lefty, of course. Everything that he was able to do, he gave a lot of big guys hope that, hey, I
can do that too.
I can do that too.
Yep,
I can do that too. Tim Couch as well. Kind of the first one to show what the air raid can really do. He had Kentucky winning. I mean, it was all over the place. And Hal Mumme and what being coached by him, running the ball was optional. It was a lot of 3-step drop, 1-step drop, get it out your hands, and let's just see what we can do. Number 3 for me, I have Andre Woodson. Andre Woodson. Especially when I was younger.
Very good one.
Yeah, like he made Kentucky relevant for a while. Him and Derek Locke, I remember Derek Locke, he didn't wear any gloves, and I was just like, how can somebody wearing number 41 tote the ball the way that he does? But Andre Woodson, he really had that Kentucky program competing, and I think it was one of the first times it's like, okay, well, Kentucky's not necessarily an afterthought. He can really go out there and sling it. I think he has a single season passing record for them, and he threw 40 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Without the air raid. Like it was a ground and pound, and he was just making smart decisions with the football. And number 4 for me, I have Randall Cobb as well, because he literally did everything. An honorable mention, I have Lynn Bowden and also Josh Allen Hines as well.
Yeah, Lynn Bowden's a good one because he's kind of like, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but he's like Randall Cobb, just not quite as good as Randall Cobb.
Right.
Is kind of how I look at him. But no, I think that's a great list. Those are good honorable mentions. I did also want to shout out, it was really tough for me to keep him off, but my honorable mention was Benny Snell, because that's one of those guys that if you think and you're like, oh yeah, I remember Benny Snell. He had over 1,000 yards every single season that he was at Kentucky. He was an absolute beast for them at the running back position. And again, I know that's just somebody that kind of flies under the radar, but went back and look at his stats for Kentucky, and you're like, oh man, all right, this dude was an absolute problem in the SEC, and he absolutely was. So yeah, so a lot of good. I got a lot of good lists coming in here from our listeners. So we'll start off with Lewis, who he always kills it. He sent his in at 6 a.m. this morning. So he goes Jared Lorenzen, Randall Cobb, Tim Couch, and George Blanda. Okay, and George Blanda, again, one of those I think is going to show up on a lot of people's lists just, before our time.
Right.
But George Blanda certainly deserving of being on the list there. We have somebody else who chimes in. He goes Randall Cobb, Tim Couch, Art Still, and Dermonte Dawson. All right. We have Tim from Coleman. He goes, all right. He says Tim Couch, Randall Cobb, Jared Lorenzen, and Benny Snell. All right.
Benny Snell.
Like the list there. I figured somebody would come along and give him his proper due since we did not. Teddy, he comes in with Randall Cobb, Tim Couch, Artos Piner, and Bud Dupree. Did Bud Dupree play it?
I didn't even realize he played at Kentucky.
I didn't realize he played at Kentucky. He did play at Kentucky. I didn't realize that either.
Dog. Okay. And he's made.
I just thought I think Steelers when I think of Bud Dupree, but I was like, oh man, I forgot he played at Kentucky.
Yeah, he was a Titan as well.
Good pull there, Teddy. All right, Mike from Hayden, he chimes in. He says, ooh, this is a good one that we left off. He says Tim Couch, Randall Cobb, Benny Snell, and Zadarius Smith.
Yeah.
Zadarius Smith's a good one.
Hey.
That's a dude too that as good as he was at Kentucky, he's been even better in the NFL.
1,000%.
That yeah, he is Zadarius Smith, that's a great pick there. Let's see. Man, somebody just woke up and chose violence this morning. Jamie chimes in. He says, I've learned Damian is a fan of whoever's winning, especially Tennessee. Good old Rocky flop. Roll damn Tide. I just woke up and chose violence.
Right, where'd that come from?
I don't know. I didn't know if you and Jamie had some beef or something that you needed to clear the air with. All right, we have somebody chiming in from the state of North Carolina. They say Randall Cobb, Lynn Bowden, Benny Snell, and Will Levis.
He can't be serious. And now
I'm going to guess this person's younger than we are.
Gotta be.
He says, he also notes, maybe make room for Zach Calzada after this season. We'll see.
Hey, he'll definitely be an SEC legend.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
He may make an appearance in the Mount Rushmore of Texas A&M tomorrow. One game.
Well, he did beat Alabama. All right, Jamari from Talladega, they chime in. They say JoJo Kemp, Benny Snell, Randall Cobb, and Lynn Bowden Jr., best quarterback in recent memory for Kentucky. Now, I will give you that. I would say he's probably the best quarterback in the last 15, 20 years for Kentucky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I can't hate on that one at all, Jamari. I think that's a good list right there. Somebody just texted in Jalen Brunson. Okay, yeah, he had a good game last night. Glad you're supporting. All right,
Villanova though.
Villanova, yeah, a little different there. All right, we'll keep sending these in. A bunch of these continuing to roll in. 205-834-9450. We're going to take our last break, come back on the other side, and continue to read and react to your Kentucky Mount Rushmores. Just a reminder again, tomorrow we're going to dive into the Texas A&M Aggies. So more from the Kentucky Wildcats here when we return on JOX 94.5.
648 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5. Funny that we're talking about Big Blue Nation. Let me tell you about Big Blue Chew. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets are performance enhancement for the bedroom and can help the men gain extra confidence when it's time to perform. Like I said, it's online, so you don't have to worry about going to the doctor, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy because it ships right to your door. Let Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. And listen, the free offer is continuously going on. It's simple. Go to bluechew.com and get your first month free when you use our promo code JOX, JOX, at checkout. The only thing you have to pay for is $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code JOX to receive your first month free. And like I tell you, every single day, just chew it and do it.
Well, I'm glad that Mount Rushmore could provide you with the perfect segue there, Damien.
Absolutely,
sometimes
baby.
I love when a plan comes together. So appreciate you joining us here on the Tuesday edition of Morning Jocks here with you until 7 o'clock. We'll hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning, going through our Kentucky Mount Rushmores. So getting your reaction here on the Courtesy GMC text line. And again, tomorrow, diving into Texas A&M. So you can go ahead and start brainstorming your list for tomorrow. But Cliff, he chimes in with his Mount Rushmore. He goes, George Blanda, Mo Williams, Dermontti Dawson, and Sonny Collins. All right, I like it, Cliff. Somebody chimes in. They say this is just for from the year 2000 to present. All right, so they're only going back to 2000. They go Randall Cobb, Josh Hines Allen, Benny Snell, and Will Levis.
There's no way. Andre Woodson played after the year 2000 as well.
So did Lynn Bowden.
Come on. Like, there's no way you can sit there and truly tell me that Will Levis is one. No, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this morning. He never beat Vanderbilt.
No, you're right. I know. Well, he threw what, 3 interceptions in that game?
Didn't throw a touchdown against Vanderbilt.
Well, they're good now, Damien.
Not then. not then.
Oh, let's see. Matt from Helena. Oh, I can't read that on the air, but that's a good text, Matt. That's a good text. Something about Cardi B, but we can't read that on the air. But no, that was good. That was good humor there.
Hey, man. And no, listen, I am a fan. Do not get it twisted. It's just I never would have thought Stephon. I told Conrad during the break. It's the other version of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Like, it's a little ratchet. Like, it's just a superstar. If you didn't know who Stephon Diggs was, just as a football player, he's dating Cardi B. He's crossed over to some. Just say it's the equivalent. I'll just put it like that.
No, I think there's a very compelling argument there. All right, Tyler from Huntsville, he chimes in. He says his Mount Rushmore would be George Blanda, Tim Couch, Randall Cobb, and Dermontti Dawson. Let's see. Joseph, he chimes in. He says Tim Couch, Randall Cobb, Jared Lorenzen, and Benny Snell. He also says, I missed yesterday, but I want to throw in Ole Miss. He says Archie Manning, Patrick Willis, Eli Manning, and Deuce McAllister for Ole Miss yesterday. Jimmy says, R.I.P. to the Pillsbury a throw boy.
Yeah.
That's Jared Lorenzen's name. He says, yeah, man, blast from the past hearing all y'all talk about Jared Lorenzen this morning. Yeah, he was one of a kind.
And he wore number 22.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They don't make them like they used to.
No, sir.
They absolutely not. Let's see. Somebody, Bo in Haleyville, he says, just put Jared Lorenzen on there. Enough said. He gave all of us big guys hope that we could one day play quarterback. The only offensive lineman build I've ever seen with the talent to play under center. Absolutely. We have Danny from, and you can't convince me if Jared Lorenzen was playing right now that he wouldn't be one of the biggest NIL earners, strictly just off of.
With ease.
I mean, he would be killing it in today's era of college athletics. Danny from Coleman chimes in. He says Andre Woodson, Randall Cobb, Jared Lorenzen, and Wesley Woodyard. Okay.
Yeah. He was once a Titan as well.
Yeah, haven't heard that one yet this morning. I like it. Let's see. Jared Lorenzen, he's big enough to be Mount Rushmore all by himself. Yeah. A lot of people. I think him and he might have been mentioned more than Tim Couch. I mean, him and Tim Couch have been on essentially everyone's, but yeah, a lot of love for the hefty lefty here. Cody, he chimes in. He says Tim Couch, the hefty lefty, Randall Cobb, and Benny Snell, honorable mention for Zadarius White. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or Zadarius Smith. Wesley, he chimes in. He says, Zach Calzada, Brock Vandegrift, Barry and Brown, and whatever that North Carolina State transfer's name was. Those are definitely the best 4 of all time, man. We can't even put some respect on Devin Leary's name.
Leary, man.
I'm just kidding. I can't really blame you for forgetting him. If we didn't do this every day, I probably would have forgotten him too. Jason chimes in. He says, it sounds to me like Kentucky's Mount Rushmore is maybe made of sand.
Hey, don't be disrespectful.
They have 4 just like everyone else.
Exactly.
Now, do they maybe not have as deep of a roster after 4 as some of the other schools?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. But they have 4.
They've had success.
Everyone's going to have 4.
Yeah.
Even Vanderbilt. They're going to have 4.
Oh, barely.
They're going to have 4. Let's see. See, I like this. Lewis chimes in. He says, man, I'm bummed out. One of the few national Green Bay games we're going to get this year, but it's going to be right in the middle of an Alabama game. I like it.
Into existence,
I like it.
Row Tide.
I hope that is the case. Let's see. We have, somebody chimes in. They say Kentucky has had great players, but they easily could have had the Mount Rushmore of coaches, and they absolutely could with Bear Bryant, Adolph Rupp, Rick Pitino, and Coach Cal, and an honorable mention for CM Newton. Yeah, when it comes to coaches in college athletics, they would have one of the very best across basketball and football for sure. John, he chimes in. He says, Tim Couch, Randall Cobb basically snapped the ball to himself and threw himself go routes his entire career. And then he adds George Blanda. So just 3 on Mount Rushmore for John. Steven, he chimes in. He goes, Tim Couch, Bud Dupree, Josh Allen, and Darian Kennard. All right.
Okay.
Haven't heard Kennard yet this morning. I like it. And we have somebody from the state of Arkansas. They chime in with Jared Lorenzen, Randall Cobb, and they say Damien is on their Kentucky Mount Rushmore because he always tells it how it is. So there you go.
Oh, some good in Big Blue Nation.
You're an honorary member.
Okay.
Right next to the Hefty Lefty and Randall Cobb.
And
we need one more, so we'll put Will Levis there. We can sandwich you
maybe not.
between him and the Hefty Lefty.
Maybe not.
Maybe not? Okay. Well, appreciate all of you chiming in this morning. Again, still just blown away by your list each and every day. Y'all have been incredible over the last week and a half while we've been doing this exercise. We've had so much fun with it. We are going to continue. We still have 10 more SEC schools to go, and then we're going to dive into the Blue Bloods as we've had suggested with us. So we're going to keep this rolling for the foreseeable future here on Morning Jocks. So that'll do it for us today. Remember, we're coming back tomorrow, 6 a.m. right here, Texas A&M Mount Rushmore's John Mack. I need you chiming in early. McElroy and Kublik in the morning. They're next.